Okay. So please rise for a moment of silent prayer and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Weiss,
Here.
Sleek,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Adi,
Here.
Elder,
Here.
Reese,
Here we go.
you're on mute.
Unmute, Angie.
Here.
Leibold.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, council has a copy of the minutes from the last meeting and have had a chance to review them. Is there any additions or corrections to those meetings or minutes? Okay, then they'll stand as they are. Council also has a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? No? Okay, before we start the readings, I have public announcements to make. I just have to find them. That's not it. Okay, on November 19th, 2020 at 6:30, there will be a public hearing to review the Planning Commission's recommendation to amend Part 11 of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Fremont, the Planning and Zoning Code. And on November the 19th, 2020 at 7:10, there will be a public hearing to review the Planning Commission's recommendation to rezone parcel 346000043302 from B2 General Commercial to R3 Multifamily Residential. This parcel is located on Fangboner Road. Okay, so with that being said, we can start the readings.
Okay. Agenda item number 1, third reading of an ordinance creating a designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, and enacting regulations for the DORA.
Move to adopt.
A second.
Angie Reese moves to adopt. John Elder seconds. Are there any comments or questions from City Council?
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
I am supporting this and I feel that it is good for the community. But I do want to remind the community that if things do not work out and this does not prove to be successful, we do have the right to remove out of this proposal in a year.
Okay, is there any comments or questions? Oh, you have a question, Chris? Or a
Yeah,
comment?
thanks, Madam President. I was just going to ask Mr. Gross a general implementation timeline and what that's going to look like if we pass this tonight.
Sure. We have a kind of an in-house DORA meeting next week to talk about getting the signs made, trash cans made. We're getting quotes on trash cans and quotes on cups. We're looking at probably a 60-day timeline. So the timeline will be, if it passes tonight, first part of next week we'll be in, we'll send the information down to the Ohio Department of Commerce. That's about a 3-week turnaround. But while we're waiting on their response and get the approval from the state, we can work on implementation. And like I said, we're looking for 60 days, or more specifically, if we're looking for an exact date, New Year's Eve would be the first day, the first date of the DORA. Possibly sooner, but I think we're really shaping up for New Year's Eve as being day 1.
Right, because we don't have a start date in the legislation, so it's really just after 30 days and then as soon as everything else is in operation, right?
Correct. Yeah, because we've got to get trash cans ordered and out, and signage out, literature out to the establishments, cups ordered.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, John?
I just want to make a comment. You know, I'd like to really thank Mr. Gross for all the work he did, all the legwork he did, and Nikki Linder did a lot of work to help get this prepared for us to review and vote on. So I'd like to publicly thank them for all the work that they've done. That's all.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions from the public? I see we have a lot of new people on our screen tonight, which is exciting, and I'd like to welcome you all. And also, anybody watching out there, if you have a question or a comment about the DORA, please let me know.
Hi, this is Charlotte Stonerook from Sandusky County Public Health. We would just like council to take into consideration, if this ordinance is passed, that every employee of the establishments that obtain the DORA permit attend an initial responsible beverage seller training within the first 6 months and a refresher course biannually. Those seller server classes can be found online. They can just go to the Sandusky County Public Health website, and there are 4 choices of classes that are listed for employees to complete. They just have to take one of them. They can take their pick.
And then how do they show to you or whoever they would need to prove that they've taken this class?
They will print out a certificate once they're done, and I believe that should also be put in the ordinance, that they either show council or show some board that they've completed those.
Well, I would think that would be you or your board.
The Public Health Board?
Right, that they would show that to.
That would be fine. They could show that to us.
Do you have anything on that, Bob?
No, I think from what I understand, our establishments already make their sellers go through that, and it is already a requirement. So I don't know how working it into our legislation makes it any more enforceable if establishments are already required to do it. And most of our establishments, at least in conversations I've had and know, you know, are pretty responsible in adhering to those seller responsibility rules and guidelines.
Jim Melly,
Yep.
can you pipe in here?
I'm not aware of the specifics of the training, but if it's required by the law, then obviously it's a mandatory thing. I'm not aware. I've read the statute.
It's not required by the law.
Okay.
That's why we'd like it included in this ordinance so that it gets done.
Anybody else have a comment or a question?
Madam President,
Yes.
I have just a statement. One, I respect what the health department is asking. However, I don't know at this time if that would be able to. I guess another question for Mr. Melly, is that something that would be able to be added to the ordinance tonight? I mean, this is the third reading ordinance. Is that something that would be added tonight? And then the other side is, if it was added, I don't know how it would be enforceable from a city legislative side. I guess I don't know that we have the resources to be able to enforce that inside the city. Mr. Melly, as even though it's part of the legislation, my concern would be is what are the consequences for not having staff members go through that? It would seem to be it would be tough for the city to regulate that or to find out, you know, how they would stay in compliance with that. And if they didn't, what would be the consequences? Would they be removed from the DORA, or what would be the consequences of that? Council members, I would ask you if any of you guys have any additional comments or questions based off of just things that I'm bringing up tonight. Some of these concerns, again, I'm not against what they're asking. I don't know if it could be a recommendation, but I don't know how it's really enforceable. Mr. Melly, can you follow up?
Yes, I absolutely can elaborate on that. If it's not a law and it's not mandatory, which is what I was asking, and that's what she said, then it would not be enforceable. There would be no consequences of it if they didn't do it. And if we passed the DORA and then we would pass another ordinance in the future that related to the DORA, but it wouldn't modify anything. I would question and think out loud if that means that we could like set up a structure to put something in place like that they had to attend the training. If they didn't attend the training, then there would be some kind of consequence as a result of it. But it wouldn't be something we could do right now because there would be nothing additional that would allow for any enforcement of it.
That was my thought. And I just think, you know, again, I'm not opposed to it. I don't want to create something that we can't have consequences for. And
Correct.
And I don't want to confuse this ordinance. You know, maybe that would be something that we'd have to look at a different time.
Correct. I think that's probably the best way to do it, and probably to see if most of the people already attend the training in the year before when we're reviewing it. And if they don't, then it's something we could bring later up to council and draft up an ordinance pursuant to that kind of plan, call a meeting and discuss it.
The other thing that we can do, Charlotte and council, I guess from my standpoint, you know, as the mayor, maybe we could send a joint letter to the establishments that are in the Endora, and just get them to strongly encouraging them to comply with that, and if they would voluntarily be willing to do so, be able to submit that information to the health department out of good faith to do what's in the best interest for the safety of the community. Maybe that's another angle that we could try to look at if this would pass tonight. Charlotte, that's something I would be interested in talking to you with if we can't get it on tonight.
Chris Leibel.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I think a lot of these establishments are already, you know, being really careful about everything because liquor control has, you know, you've seen what they've done to some other bars that haven't complied with COVID requirements. So I think they're all going to be really careful about this after this gets going. And I think we'll hear pretty quick if there are any issues with it. So I'm pretty confident in our establishments to act responsibly in selling Dora cups.
Anyone else?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I would like to just comment. We have recently just done, let me introduce myself. My name is Jim Posey. I'm also from Sandusky County Public Health. And I appreciate all the comments that have been said. But I do just want to point out that we have done investigations throughout the county to see if anyone would be selling underage. And 8 of the 33 that we have done recently did sell underage. So that's why we have such a concern. And we want to make sure that we can have this kind of implemented into the DORA so that they can follow those regulations and we don't have those citations happen again.
Do you think this training is going to prevent underage selling?
That is the main focus, yes.
Right. I mean, is that what I'm interested in knowing what the training is. And so can anybody go on to the website and look at the training, or does it have to be someone who's an employee of a facility or an establishment that sells alcohol?
No,
anyone can.
Okay.
Are there any of the establishments that we have proposed in the DORA? Were they part of the underage? Were they involved?
None of the bars were checked. It was all carryouts and gas stations, the 8 that we're referencing from Sandusky County. But
Okay.
Future compliance checks could include bars and restaurants as well, as they have in the past.
Right now, the DORA only pertains to the bars and establishments that sell alcohol, not any carryouts or anything like that. I would agree with Mayor Sanchez's proposal that we would jointly send a letter to the establishments urging their compliance with what you're recommending. I like that idea.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Elder. If I may just say one more thing, and Mr. Melly, I'm going to kind of look to you as a co-signer since you're the prosecutor. County Law Director. In my previous position, working for the court, the Chief Probation Officer, there were times in which we had offenders come through the judicial system and who were charged by a liquor control agent for selling to underage. And most of the time, those were first-time offenders who had never been in trouble in the past. And a lot of the times it was just simply maybe they sold to someone 18 or 19. And I will say that the court, the prosecutor's office did a good job on working with the health department and making sure that those folks that that were charged or arrested went through a class. And not only did they give them a punitive punishment for the crime they committed, but the goal was to get them educated and trained to make sure that they weren't reoffending. And I can't really recall ever having anyone reoffend. The other side of it is I think a lot of this is the bar owners understand the responsibility that they have and restaurant owners for employees that work for them. And they do have the resources available to provide the training and education necessary to make sure that these things don't happen. I do, as many of you all know, sometimes no matter how much training you go to, sometimes it just becomes to just getting comfortable on a job or becoming and not really checking the ID, and then you somehow, or you purposely sell thinking that you can get away with it. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but I think, you know, changing the ordinance at this time would stop the process on how hard and how far everyone has come. So I agree with the health department. I agree with all of the council members. I just wanted to share some of my experience on how those cases have been handled through Mr. Melly's office in the past.
Anyone else have any comments about this? Ken Frost, are there any comments from the public?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Sleek,
Unmute.
Yes.
Justin Smith,
Yes.
Denny Addy,
Yes.
John Elder,
Yes.
Angie Reese,
Yes.
Chris Weiss.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm sorry I skipped you, Chris. Chris Libo.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Approved. But just so the health department knows, I'm sure that we will look into sending that letter out. And as Danny said, he'd like to get together with Charlotte and maybe Jim as well to try to compose that letter to send to the restaurant and bar owners. Okay, moving on to number 2.
Number 2, second reading of a resolution supporting an essential workers bill of rights.
Okay. Chris Leibel, did you want to speak on this?
Well, there are some people here that would like to speak on it, so I would.
Okay.
I would give them some time. I don't know who's here with Justice for Migrant Women. Maybe she can introduce some people, but I know there are a number of people here to talk about it.
Okay.
Hi, I work for Justice for Migrant Women. So my name is Mariana Espiritu. I am the community organizer for Justice for Migrant Women, a national organization that is headquartered here in Fremont. Farm workers in Ohio are among the populations that Justice for Migrant Women is serving and working alongside. As leaders of Fremont, you know the toll that COVID-19 has taken on our workers, families, businesses, and communities as a whole. Our organization recognized that farm workers were among those in our community who would need immediate assistance as a result of the pandemic, knowing that they are among the essential workers, risking their lives for all of us every day. As a part of our response, Justice for Migrant Women helped to launch Essential Ohio, a leading effort that is part of a national essential workers campaign. We are proud that Ohio is the first state in the nation to have 3 cities that pass an essential workers resolution. Just yesterday, Dayton became the 3rd city. We would be excited to have Fremont be part of setting an example in our state and across the country that we must acknowledge our essential workers. This resolution would signal support to all of our essential workers in Fremont, that we appreciate their daily sacrifices, from healthcare workers and farm workers to teachers and grocery store workers. Without them, our community and our economy would not survive. I am excited that tonight we get to hear from a local business owner and 2 essential workers about their experiences. So thanks for having me this evening. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you.
So we can start with Pamela. She's our business.
Hi. I think most of you know who I am. I'm Pamela Haas, co-owner of Billy's Restaurant. And Monica talked to me about the resolution, and I felt very strongly about it because we've been in the community. The business has been in the community since 1948, and my sister and I have owned Billy's Restaurant for 35 years, close to 35 years. And throughout this pandemic, it's been very challenging, especially with the challenges of being maybe only takeout and with our workers. But the community has been very supportive of all our workers. We've had community members that have supported a lot of local businesses with purchasing gift certificates to give ahead to their essential workers in order to be able to help local businesses stay in business. So I feel that it's important to have the resolution just to know that the community supports the community. We've been very grateful for that community support. And I think that as the pandemic continues, we need to know that our community will be there to support us. We realize that the state government and the federal government has to get on board, but if there had been a plan in effect, we probably wouldn't be asking for this kind of help. So because of migrant workers, farm workers, healthcare workers, you know, not always can every business be so supportive of their employees because they're in the same situation. We've been very grateful to be able to do that, but I think it's important to have community support in that resolution. So I support it. I'm here today to be able to say that I support it. And I hope that the community understands that it's how we've all been able to sustain the pandemic. And we have a lot of community support. We should be grateful for that. So thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you for coming and speaking.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
We have Mariana Vasquez.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, I've been a Fremont resident all my life, my 41 years, born and raised here in Fremont. I've done my share of working for the community preschools, daycares, one of them in particular, TMC, which then converted to CDI. This season, with COVID, we started off with remote services for our children and our families, which my family is part of the program as well. And in my situation, you know, because of the COVID and all the regulations, I had a choice to do whether to continue sending my child for the program or lose my job. And well, my son, he's got asthma and he's only 2. So I made a choice of like getting an early layoff, but that put a hinder on my financial situation since I am a single mom of 6. So then that led me to go work in the fields again, which I do have a history in working in the fields here in Sandusky County. You know, my whole family they migrated back and forth back, you know, the years. And so again, I put myself and my family at risk with the COVID because unfortunately, all we were given were masks and gloves, but social distancing wasn't part of our job. But that's just what we had to do. We were in the harvester. And so, you know, with this resolution, I think it's something that would be beneficial for the Sandusky County because it will make us workers feel more safer knowing that we got that support out there, that maybe, you know, we can continue our jobs in a more safer environment with more help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. And our next speaker is Anaí Torres.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anaí Torres. I am a resident all my life here in Fremont, and I'm also an essential worker. I'm glad to be with everyone tonight. I work at an assisted living facility here in Fremont, and right now I was supposed to be at work, but I'm currently at home because I had to switch my hours with somebody. I work in a memory care unit here, and I have, you know, lives on my hands while I go to work every day. And all my choices through, especially COVID, I have to make very cautiously because I deal currently right now with 15 residents in the memory care unit. We do, as the unit, we do are provided with the PPE mask, and that is the way that we protect ourselves from giving the residents anything and all that. But it's still, in my eyes, like, I still have to be very cautious with them and everything. Like, they're in my hands too. The challenges that I face are having to be overworked because of the fact that an essential worker, not many people are going to be working right now through COVID and everything. So right now we're short-staffed, and I currently work over 100 hours each pay period due to the fact that there aren't many workers and stuff. So my biggest challenge right now because of COVID is being overworked, and I think this resolution would be good for all of our essential workers. And I know that me being as an essential worker is hard work, and it deserves to be recognized. Many essential workers are not getting the same benefits that I do. I have received a hero's bonus through my facility, and I'm very grateful for that. And thank you guys for having me tonight to speak.
Thank you.
I would like to thank the speakers that came to join me in speaking about the resolution. After hearing myself and the speakers, I hope the council would decide to adopt the resolution for the city of Fremont. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this issue? Bob?
Yeah, Madam President, thank you. After the last council meeting and the first reading, I reached out to Beth Hannam at the Sandusky County Economic Development, forwarded this resolution into business leaders in the manufacturing community around Fremont. And Beth Hannam is on with us tonight, and Jill Zeiss, the HR director at Crown, is also on with us tonight. In response, I have some email responses and some letters submitted to the city by some of our largest employers. And what I will do is, I've got a letter from Mosier I'll read. Jill is here, but she submitted a letter, and then I can go through some of the other comments by some of the employers. Mosier's letter reads, "We are in receipt of a resolution supporting an essential worker bill of rights introduced to City Council. As an employer providing services that support infrastructure deemed essential, I can certainly appreciate the challenges businesses and their workers faced early in the pandemic, as well as they continue to face as we navigate this together. From an economic development perspective, the resolution as written would establish a very uninviting environment for current and prospective companies. Many local employers, like Mosier, would provide several of the protections listed in the Essential Worker Bill of Rights. To pass such a resolution does not clearly define the obligation the city would have in the future and seems somewhat irresponsible. It is important to consider the message that you are sending to all Fremont stakeholders. Vote no on the passage of this resolution. I think in some of the emails, Tim Myers at Century Tool and Die, he didn't understand the point. We are taking several of the points, in my opinion, just seem like common practice. Tom Kern from Stylecrest, there's no need for this resolution. This is more of a promise to improve things. Not sure how improving or putting the resolution on books does anything to commit the city management. The verbiage or the language in the ordinance is vague and unlikely to be managed in the long term. There's just a couple of comments and the verbiage within the ordinance and what it commits an employer to, and in what it may be trending toward. We are a low to moderate income community that struggles to attract business here. And I think the concern is the struggle to attract further business here and evolve our local economy. This could add another hurdle or challenge in doing so. At this time, I'll see if either Beth Hannam or Jill Zeiss want to weigh in on their thoughts on this resolution. All right. Yep.
Hi, Bob. Thank you. I appreciate you guys opening your meeting up to the public and giving me an opportunity to speak on behalf of Crown Battery. I'm their recently appointed Director of Human Resources. And when we read the Essential Bill of Rights resolution that was presented to Council, the essence of it is so great and profound. The issue that Crown Battery has is exactly what Bob's talking about, the vagueness and what will come of it. It's not clear on what actions will be taken of the resolution. Is it just, it seems like just a commitment to do better and acknowledge essential workers in our community, which we can do in a lot of different ways, opposed to, without passing a resolution that might have further repercussions that were not initially intended. So, we would urge the council to vote no on this resolution.
Thank you.
I don't know if Beth Hannam is still on, if she would want to weigh in at all. Okay, maybe not. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Barely, Beth.
Yeah. Oops. Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So I just wanted to add that, nobody is against, I guess, everybody believes that essential workers and what they did during the pandemic and continue to do is very vital to the city of Fremont. And we commend all those workers that did what they did and continue to do. It's more just a matter of, from what I'm hearing from the employers, is the vagueness of the resolution and what long-term impact that could have down the road. So that seems to be the concern that I'm hearing from the local employers. So that's all I have to add, unless you have any questions for me.
May I ask a question, Madam President?
Yes.
Excuse me, Jill and Bethany, and I mean no disrespect. From my screen, I don't see your last name, so I'm just going to address you as Jill and Bethany. You both have said there's vagueness to this resolution. Can you please specify what that vagueness is from these employers, so that if you're asking City Council to vote no on this resolution, I think they deserve an explanation more than a bunch of business owners have said it's too vague. So could you please explain what the vagueness is?
Sure. Jill, do you want to start off, or do you want me to, and then you can add?
Yeah, you go ahead, Beth, and I'll add in. I also wrote the letter, and I think it more clearly defines the kind of the what is specifically vague about the resolution. But go ahead and kick it off, Beth.
Sure. Some of the things that were mentioned just were lower cost childcare, higher wages. Those are just two of the things. I don't have it right in front of me. Two of the things that pop into my mind that are probably red flags that employers have mentioned. Well, what does that mean? Are you saying that in the city of Fremont that wages need to be set at X number of dollars? Do they need to be paying for all of an employee's childcare? So it's those types of things that are vague in their eyes. And go ahead, Jill, you can add too.
Yeah, and that's really the prime ones that you hit is the cost of doing business in Fremont. Is that going to go up? And which would further put further hardship on the businesses, especially businesses who have already done a lot to prevent the spread of COVID and help keep their employees safe. And with Crown Battery, we've really gone to extreme measures to ensure that our employees are taken care of and can perform their job because they are listed as essential workers with our part in the food industry and providing batteries to motorized vehicles within those industries. So we've been essential and have stayed open. We haven't shut down at any point during this pandemic. But, the question comes into mind about, how much is this going to cost the business? Is there going to be a cap? Is it, it's with the child care, is it that we're going to have to give a stipend to all the employees? It's really, that's the concerning part. And I guess, where you had asked where it's vague, those are the two primary points.
Yes, Chris Leibold.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to respond real quick. This is a resolution. It's not an ordinance. So we're not doing anything to raise wages, and we're not doing anything to lower the cost of childcare. Obviously, who wouldn't want higher wages and lower childcare? So it's a resolution like when we pass a resolution in support of a school levy, right? That doesn't really move the needle one way or another. It's not an actual vote for a school levy. It's just a resolution saying that's the direction we'd like to see, happen. So, and I don't know if Jim Melly wanted to say anything on it, but, that's what I'm saying. It's the difference between a resolution and ordinance.
I'd like to say something if I might.
Sure.
When I decided to support this, it was basically because it was a resolution. I mean, unless the state and the federal government, it's my understanding, got on board with some strict restrictions or strict laws about how we would have to adopt this or live by this, it's not like we're going to mandate anything for anybody. It's just this community recognizing that we support the essential worker and we recognize the necessity and the value of the essential worker. Because as far as I'm concerned, like in my small business, I can't be mandated to pay a higher wage unless I could afford it, or pay for childcare, or it's just if our local state government and our federal government adapted a policy, we would support the fact that our resolution would support that supporting of the essential worker. I don't know. I mean, we're not asking anybody to pay anymore or do anymore because we've all done a lot. I mean, Crown Battery, I know, has done a remarkable job, and Whirlpool, and just our little Billy's restaurant, we've paid our employees. But I think as a community, if we said to our essential workers, we support you, it would mean a lot. But
So maybe then within this resolution, maybe some of the wording needs to be changed to better reflect.
Yes, I think it's misunderstood. And maybe that's the vagueness.
Yeah. And that was my suggestion. This is the second reading. Maybe between the second reading and the third reading, I could work with those members of council, those businesses that maybe oppose it. We could strike some of the language that they aren't comfortable with, and then amend the resolution at the next council meeting. And you know, then if people are comfortable with it, take action on it.
Yeah, reevaluate, maybe make the, the wording reevaluated, and then and have the questions be answered.
Madam President, this is Mr. Melly. May I say something?
Yes, sir.
A resolution, by its definition, is it's not a proclamation, but it's an announcement, or it's a statement that the council supports the ideals contained in the resolution. An ordinance is a law that takes effect that is actually enforceable. So it has some level of either consequences or some level of impact, a legal significance, as opposed to a resolution which just is announcing that the city council, like Mr. Leibold said, city council is supporting mental health levy, city council is supporting the school levy, city council is supporting whatever it is, and that's what this is. So it doesn't have any mandatory legal effect.
Well, I agree with that, but there's also some wording in this that says the city will pledge to transform our laws and standards. So within this resolution, we're saying that we're going to pledge to transform our laws and standards. So I think that while everybody does support essential workers, I think this just needs to be rewritten in a different kind of way.
Yeah, but based on what's all been happening over the last few months, I mean, I think some of our essential workers were getting hazard pay, and I don't recall any of the baggers at Kroger going out of business due to their increased pay for hazard pay. And I do know, with the daycare issue, and I'm interested to know what the impact that has had upon our workforce with the schools and the situation they are in, where kids are staying at home at school. How's that impacted it? I mean, nationwide, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has said women have dropped out of the workforce to numbers close to 1 million. And that's over daycare concerns because of the school situation, and they're the only parent available. So to me, the vagueness, I think, is good. It gives us a chance us as a community can interpret it any way we want. Honestly, I think some of our essential workers should be paid more. And I would wholly support that if I had the power to vote for that. And I think some way to help with the daycare situation would be admirable. How that would look, I have no idea. But I think that's, a goal that would be great for our community. And I don't see how that would diminish businesses from moving into our community. I think that would be an attractive part of our community, that we would be forward thinking to help our essential workers maneuver the workplace and their pay. That's all.
Hi, I would like to say something. The resolution is a way to start a conversation to support the essential workers. Not all workers are receiving the same benefits, and it's just to bring awareness of all the essential workers and the work that they are doing in the community, and helping each and every one of us. We all need an essential worker. If it's the bagger at the grocery store or somebody in a nursing home that we have a loved one there, they're all important equally, and they're not all receiving equal benefits. And it's just to bring awareness and start a conversation on how can we help them out.
Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Melvin Phillips. I'm from the United Food and Commercial Workers. I represent some of those baggers and the Heinz workers of the world, the Ruth Packings. I actually represent over 2,000 people in this region, and 400 in the county and 250 in the city here. And the essential worker, it really means the world that they're getting the credit that they are an essential worker. Some of them are getting hazard pay. Well, most of them, like the Kroger's, it's gone away. It's stopped. The Heinz has stopped. But they still have that pride when they are referred to as an essential worker. It means the world. It's more than any money can give to anybody. You know, there's people still getting sick. We're thankful we live here in Fremont, Ohio, which I am a resident of. Because in Bowling Green, we're having 4 people come up positive in our Kroger stores. Sandusky, we're having people come up positive in our stores. You know, our meat industry, what would happen if we just got or it just spiraled out of control? You know, these people just, it's not so much the pay or the date, it's just they want to be recognized for being there when we all need them. And, you know, I'm going to keep this pretty short. But I appreciate everything you guys do in city council. And this is my first meeting, and I need to get more involved to see what you guys really do. And I appreciate everything you guys do. With that, if anybody has any questions for me, please ask.
Well, thank you, Melvin Phillips, for attending tonight, and I hope you come back and attend some more. Anybody else have any comments on this? Yes, Angie?
Thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I have a problem here with some of this wording in here where it says robust premium compensation. What do you mean by robust? A nickel raise or a dollar raise? I just think that that's too wide of a statement to make, and I think it should be, this resolution should be rewritten and be a little bit more specific. This robust premium could run a company under.
We're not making laws, Angie. We are making a suggestion. We are just saying we support the essential workers. We are not making any kind of law that has to be enforced by anybody.
Thank you. I realize that. But I'm just saying on the wording, you know, if they change the wording, and especially on that part right there in that statement, that's all that I was pointing out. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think this constitutes the second reading of this resolution, and hopefully Chris and Bob Gross and a couple of the essential workers and some of the city employers can get together and maybe get this rewritten or do something to let the community know that Fremont does support the essential workers. I think we need to move on now to the next reading.
Agenda item number 3, first reading of a resolution authorizing the approval and issuance of a warrant for payment for $3,094.26 to Columbia Gas and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Bob, or Paul Grau.
Yeah, this is just, I didn't have time to prepare a letter to send to council before the actual meeting, but this is a invoice for some damage that was caused during some excavation of a Columbia Gas gas line. And by the time we actually got an estimate of what those repairs might be, it was basically repaired by Columbia Gas and invoiced. So we didn't really have the timing necessary to get that purchase order out there with knowing what the potential cost might be. So it just created the timing issue of not having the purchase order. So I would ask if council could suspend Rule 4 on this so we could issue the actual payment. I'd appreciate that. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
I move to suspend Rule 4.
Second.
Jim, I was just gonna make the motion. Never mind. They beat me to it.
Okay, Jim Sleek makes a motion to suspend Rule 4. Christine Weiss seconds. Are there any questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Roll call.
Smith.
Yes.
Adi.
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Leibold.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Sleek.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
I'll second.
Justin Smith moves to adopt. Angie Reese seconds. Are there any questions or comments on the resolution to pay this Columbia Gas bill? Okay, roll call.
Adi.
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Leibold.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Leak,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Okay, approved. Whenever you're ready, Bob.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Number 4, first reading of an ordinance amending appropriations within General Fund 101 and declaring an emergency.
Paul?
Yes, this one is related to the city bringing back a custodial position. I believe the city administration addressed this a while ago, where we were going to look to get out of the contract with our cleaning service and actually look to hire somebody back into City Hall to help out with the custodial duties. We used to have building maintenance and a custodial and a cleaning contract, but we determined that it was just more necessary just to have a custodial type, janitorial type position to help with the cleaning and stuff because of unsatisfactory performance by the current provider. And so this is just establishing a budget for the wages to get through the end of the year. We've even though we haven't had building maintenance in a while, we've still been budgeting the normal building maintenance type non-payroll items like general repairs and maintenance for City Hall or some supplies to be able to do certain things, but just didn't have the wages. So this is just adding in the wages, and then in the 2021 budget, Ken Frost and I will have a full-blown departmental budget for the building maintenance / custodial department. So for this one, I would ask council to suspend Rule 4 for this one too, just so we could get the budget out there and be able to pay the person. And so if there's any questions about that, with transitioning from the cleaning crew, the cleaning company to the in-house or the budget itself, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Madam President, I make a motion to suspend Rule 4.
I second it.
Justin Smith makes a motion to suspend Rule 4. Jim Sleek seconds. Are there any comments or questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Okay, roll call.
Elder,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Leibold,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Adi.
Yes.
Okay.
Move to adopt.
I second it.
John Elder moves to adopt. Angie Reese seconds. Are there any questions or comments concerning this ordinance? Are there any questions or comments from the public? No? Okay, roll call.
Reese,
Yes.
Leibold,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Adi,
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approved. Next reading.
I'm sorry. Number 5, first reading of a resolution authorizing a second round of the City of Fremont CARES Small Business Grant Program using CARES Act allotment of funds to provide up to $5,000 in grants consistent with the requirements of the applicable laws and regulations and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Yes, Mayor.
if I may speak, thank you very much. Myself, City Auditor Paul Graw, and Safety Service Director Frost, who is on tonight, we are receiving additional CARES Act funding. We have received over the 20 allotted applications for the CARES Act funding that we initially put out. Where we are at that process, the auditor, Mr. Frost, and Nikki Linder in my administrative office, they've been going through those applications as determining who's eligible. I wanted to make sure that we did not leave anyone out that needed these additional dollars inside our community. As we understand, it's the small businesses in our community that are working very hard out there every day and have been for years. So we want to do what we can to assist those businesses and not leave any of those businesses out. We're asking for City Council to allocate an additional $100,000 that will be from the CARES Act funding up to $100,000. We are not sure that we will utilize all of those dollars or not. Myself and again, Mr. Grawl and Mr. Frost, we look to extend the application deadline until October 24th. And after that deadline, when we can determine eligibility, we'd like to get those dollars out as soon as possible. Again, if you already have applied for these funding, you only have one opportunity to apply. So if you've already applied once, you don't need to apply again. But we just want to make sure that we have some additional dollars out there available for other small businesses in the community. Mr. Graw, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that. Like Mayor Sanchez said, when we got notice that we were going to be getting a third round of the CARES Act money, it kind of timed out well with the receiving of the applications and that it exceeded the original allotment. So we convened with the city, all of us on the city administration, and thought it was a great idea to expand the program. The third round ended up being about another, I believe it was $573,000. So we're going to utilize a chunk of it to expand the small business relief program, and then we're going to look for some other uses in City Hall or in the city. One of the things that Safety Service Director Frost and I are looking into is we attended a webinar together, and it looks like we might be able to utilize the CARES Act to cover regular police and fire wages during the pandemic period. So we're looking at that option as well. So just to give you an idea of that third round amount that we got, and then what we're looking at it with the expansion of the small business relief program.
Thank you, Mr. Auditor. Council, we would ask you to suspend Rule 4 so that we could make this readily available to small businesses and continue moving forward with being able to get these dollars back out to the small businesses in need.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend Rule 4. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to suspend Rule 4.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, Justin Smith makes a motion to suspend Rule 4, and John Elder seconds. Are there any comments on the suspension of Rule 4? Okay, roll call.
Leibold?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Sleek?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Adi?
Yes.
Elder?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
I
Second.
seconded.
Okay, John Elder moves to adopt, and I believe Christine Weiss seconds. Are there any comments on this from council or questions? Are there any comments or questions from the public?
Madam President, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Just 10 seconds. I just want to thank council for acting fast on this, and I know that the businesses are also very thankful. And it's nice to see that we have a city council who will move forward on this in such a quick time frame to get these dollars back out to our small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Frost, were there any comments from the public?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Roll call.
Weiss?
Yes.
Sleek?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Adi?
Yes.
Elder?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Leibold?
Yes.
Okay, approved. I think that's the end of our readings, so we'll move on to council or committee reports. And I'm starting tonight with Justin Smith, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you tonight. Madam President, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. Angie Reese, Citizen Service Committee.
I have nothing to report. Thank you, Madam President.
Jim Sleek, Government and Economic Development.
Nothing to report at this time. Thank you, Madam President.
John Elder, Laws, Rules, and Ordinances.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple things on my agenda I could share with the council. We have someone on the Board of Zoning Appeals whose term is expiring at the end of this year. So if anyone, I'd like to make an announcement, if anyone would like to apply, they can pick up an application in the Office of Engineering Zoning anytime between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Applications are due by December 4th, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. So if you're interested in serving on the Board of Zoning Appeals, there is an opening. I also like to announce that we will be having an LRO meeting before the next council meeting at 6:30 p.m. Pogemeyer Design Group will be doing a PowerPoint presentation for this committee and council with an updated subdivision and zoning code regulations. We should all be receiving those updates within the next week to study and look over before this meeting. But at the next council meeting, we will be having an LRO meeting at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom, Thursday, November 5th. So it's very important that all the LRO committee attend, and of course, anyone else from council and City Hall are invited. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Weiss, Community Partnership.
Yes, I've got one thing. I believe I've got Jamie Belcher, who is also on the Zoom tonight. I think she's on mute right now, if she can chime in. Are you there, Jamie?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. So Jamie is going to share a little bit, just a snippet of information of something that we would like to present to council, and we'll have a community action partnership meeting date to be determined, but I wanted her to share just a brief snippet of what that would be.
Good evening, council. Thanks for allowing me to be on tonight. I am also a health educator at Sandusky County Public Health. And one of the things that I would like to propose to council would be that they would consider passing an ordinance that would require all 29 tobacco retailers within Fremont city limits to post the Ohio tobacco quit line at the point of purchase at their registers. Part of this will help counteract tobacco advertising. We know tobacco companies spend over $9 billion in advertising a year, mostly aimed at youth, although that's illegal. But posting the Ohio tobacco quit line would also allow anybody purchasing anything at the registers to see a free cessation resource. We do know that those who quit tobacco have healthier lives, they have healthier productivity. It does reduce secondhand smoke exposure to families and children, those in multi-unit housing. And so it's just a proposal to allow this point of sale purchase. The signage and everything would be provided by the Sandusky County Public Health Department. We would provide all of that free of charge to all of the tobacco retailers. And then enforcement would just be making sure it's on there when we do our annual compliance checks and store audits. If it's not on there, then we simply provide them with new signage.
Does anybody have any questions for Jamie Belcher? Or for Christine? No? Okay. Thank you, Christine, and thank you, Jamie Belcher.
Thank you.
Denny Addy, Traffic and Utilities. You're on mute. Oh, there you go.
We just had a traffic safety committee meeting, and we addressed three things. A resident was complaining about the traffic speed on Garfield Street, and we are going to look into that one further. We addressed St. Joe Central Catholic, wanted to know if they could move the parking from the east side of the street to the west side of the street between Court and Krogan Street. Reason they were concerned about on the east side of the street, when people get out of the cars, they would be into a snowbank if we had a heavy snow or if it was slushy in one of those type of winters. And right now we pretty much decided it would be best so people were not opening their car door into the line of traffic. And even more importantly, if there was a fire, the fire engines would be able to pull up right along the side of the building as opposed to over with a traffic lane in between them or whatever. The other thing that was discussed was the traffic light at Hayes and Whittlesey. Many discussions on one, should we do a two-ways, just a regular stop for Whittlesey to stop, or a four-way stop at that intersection, or keep the traffic light. And we decided right now, for the time being, just to keep the traffic light. What we're concerned with is the speed going down Hayes Avenue. And we just wanted to kind of slow it down. And I know some of you live close to that neighborhood, and we know how fast sometimes people go down Hayes Avenue. So we're going to keep the traffic light there momentarily until we try to look into that a little further, do some traffic study, etc. That's about it, Madam President. Thank you.
Denny, what's the determining factor on whether to put stop signs up? You know, that is an open highway from Park Avenue all the way to maybe Wilson, maybe the five-way stop. No, the five-way stop in front of Spiegel Grove.
Right, Buckland.
Yeah, so a five-way stop there, but that you can gain a high rate of speed in that many blocks. I mean, we have this issue on Franklin, we have this issue on Rawson, we have this issue on Hayes. So what is the determining factor?
Well, I think one of the reasons sometimes you want to vacate them, because it does cost us for traffic lights, and then you've noticed in certain areas where we have taken them down and turned them into four-way stops. I would say that is a big factor. We also look at the safety involved and the speed involved. I don't know, Ken, do you want to add on into any of that?
Yeah, so what we do is we actually go through the traffic safety committee and we try to weigh all of our options to provide the safest option for travel and getting people, like what we did today on Hayes Avenue. Our traffic safety committee consisted of several people, including Bill Goon from the streets, a chief of police, as well as the fire chief. The determination for that particular intersection was made for a couple of different reasons. One reason is that we were a little bit concerned if we put a four-way stop there, people traveling on Hayes, as you say, we know that it's 25, but I assure you people go more than 25 down there. And we were afraid that people weren't going to be able to see an actual stop sign, you know, because the road is narrow, and if you get a box truck or something parked there and you're traveling up to where that intersection is, say eastbound on Hayes, you wouldn't be able to see the actual stop sign that's there. So knowing that traffic needed to be kind of managed and controlled a little bit, we all felt it was more comfortable to leave the actual traffic signal up there, which is clearly, you know, visible from a mile in either direction. That was how we determined that. So each thing is actually done on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
It's done with the safety forces and the street department's input, so that we can maintain a steady flow of traffic safely, as well as you know, make sure that pedestrian traffic can also cross streets safely. So that was the factor for there. And also another factor for leaving that light up right now is we don't really know what's going to happen with the Hayes Elementary School site. There could be some type of a housing development that requires a traffic light in the near future. And none of us think that it would make good sense to take that thing down now and find out in 2 years that we're going to have to put one right back up. It just wouldn't be a good use of the taxpayers' money. So that was why we decided to leave it just a traffic light rather than a four-way stop.
Okay.
Madam President, may I make a comment?
Yes.
This being my neighborhood, it is imperative that a traffic signal light remain at that intersection simply because that is the city route for semi trucks coming in from Route 6, Route 53. That's like the city route. And we have semi trucks coming down Hayes Avenue multiple times a day, and most of them at a higher rate of speed than 25 miles an hour. We have had cars parked on Hayes Avenue, clipped, hit, mirrors taken off. It is, and the fact that Whittlesey Avenue or Whittlesey Street is a pretty steep hill, and people coming up Whittlesey, and there are stop signs now on each side of the, what would that be, north-south side of the intersection on Whittlesey. If the plans are to eventually take that stoplight out, there really must be a two-way red stop blinking light there, because we have way too much semi-truck traffic on Hayes Avenue to ever not have somebody stop. And what Mr. Oddie and Mr. Frost said, that it's essential to slow the traffic down on Hayes Avenue, because it's too long of a strip not to have somebody stop. And more than anything, simply because of the amount of semi-truck traffic that flows up and down Hayes Avenue on a daily basis. It's very dangerous.
Thank you, Holly.
It's very dangerous because the semi trucks sometimes take up the both lanes. So because of their girth. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
And that was a big concern of mine too, was when you come up Whittlesey Street Hill. I mean, there is some distance there, but I mean, you could come up there and not even see that stop sign. I think the traffic light is very important.
And it is a very busy intersection. A lot of traffic there daily.
Okay, I had one other question for you, Denny, on this Clover Street by St. Joe's School. So they're looking at changing the parking to just the east side of Clover Street, is that correct?
Right now, it is presently along the east side of Clover Street between Court and Krogan. The school requested, they asked me, could we get it changed to the west side of the street instead? So along the school. If you remember, at one time, there was parking on both sides.
I work there. I work on the corner of Krogan and Clover, and believe you me, I know we have no parking.
Right, so they want to just keep it on the east side where it is now. That's where they are presently parking, is along the east side of Clover towards the courthouse alongside the old jail.
Well, when you go across Krogan Street on Clover, it's on the west side.
It's on the west side. It switches.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, and it's going to stay that way?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think so. I think Chris Leibold, you're up. Finance.
Thank you, Madam President. My only report is that we'll have a standalone meeting next month to discuss the budget later in the month.
Okay, thank you. Throughout this week, we received 2 letters from Berkshire Historical Neighborhood Association, and I didn't know if anyone wanted to address those, read those to the public. Jim Melly. Yes, Justin.
Madam President, I read the letters from the Berkshire Avenue Historical Association, and I'm in total agreement with them that we must keep Hayes Elementary School property a residential area. It's essential for the neighborhood and for the city of Fremont.
Jim, do you think that this needs to be read publicly, these letters that came from the Berkshire Historic Neighborhood Association?
I mean, there's nothing harming you in reading them publicly. However, nothing is before council related to this. So
well, I understand that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But when we get sent something, I think that the city of Fremont should know about it. I think they should know of the support or non-support of things.
That's fine.
Justin, do you have that letter on the Hayes Elementary site?
I do not have it in front of me, no.
Okay, well, that.
I would have to get,
I
I'd have to get it
have
right.
have the letter right here. If you
I
don't,
have
I'll
it.
read it real quick.
Okay, go ahead, Bob. I have it as well.
Okay, as you know, Hayes Elementary has been demolished and the site will be going to auction soon. In our efforts to be good stewards of the neighborhood, we want to express our hope for the property. It is our belief the neighborhood and community is best served to transition the property to residential use. The city of Fremont is in need of new residential housing options, and this particular location makes the most sense to address two issues. First, the need for new housing, and two, what to do with the site can best be answered with the same answer. It is our concern that anything other than residential use would be too disruptive to the neighborhood. We would hope that when the time comes to rezone this particular location, you take the neighborhood concerns into consideration. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
I just think it's important for the public to know that. I know that they sent a letter as well on the four-way stop at Whittlesey and Hayes and expressed their concerns about that as well. So do you want to read that one as well, Bob?
Yeah. It's same thing to Mayor Sanchez and Fremont City Council. We'd like to take a few minutes to express our concern regarding the intersection of Hayes Avenue and Whittlesey Street. Now that Hayes Elementary has been demolished, it is our hope the intersection can be turned into a four-way stop. As residents that live near the intersection and frequently travel Hayes Avenue, we believe a four-way stop allows for safe travel through the neighborhood without prolonged delays sitting at a traffic signal. Additionally, the four-way stop at the intersection would help slow traffic while providing safe pedestrian crossing along Hayes Avenue. We have dog walkers, children, and cyclists that frequently utilize the intersection to safely cross Hayes Avenue. The two closest four-way stop intersections along Hayes are at Park Avenue and Wilson Avenue. That's approximately a half a mile stretch of road through residential neighborhood with no stopping and therefore allowing vehicles to reach a high rate of speed. In closing, we sincerely hope that intersection will be made a four-way stop, as we believe that's what's best for the neighborhood.
Thank you, Bob, for reading that as well. And I'm sure that there will be lots of opinions and comments on both of those letters from the public, but I thought we should put that out there. I know Holly Elder, she lives on that street. She knows the importance of keeping that light up there, or at least some type of a light, a red flashing stop light, maybe not the green, yellow, red stoplight, but something to keep the traffic slowed down. Anyways, is there anything else? Does anybody else have any comments they'd like to make? If not, I'd ask someone to make a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I second it.
Chris Leibold moves to adjourn. Jim Sleek seconds. Roll call.
Sleek.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Hadi.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Leibold.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Adjourn. Bye, everyone.
Bye.